Hi, welcome back to Retro Cheese Review, where I force my friends and loved ones to watch cheesy movies from my childhood and we review them. With me is my wife Felicia again. Felicia, say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
And today we will be reviewing the 1992 classic Buffy the Vampire Slayer in honor of the late great Paul Reubens, who just recently died. For those who don't know, that is Pee Wee Herman. He was in this movie. So, just a few facts before we dive in. This movie came out in 1992, as I mentioned, 5 years before the popular TV show, which was not nearly as good, frankly. This was a way better movie than that was a TV show. And it was actually done by the same creator, Joss Whedon. He created this TV show, or sorry, he created the TV show, but he also created the movie. The movie was meant to be more of a comedy horror versus the TV show, which kind of became more of a teen drama, I guess. Stars a huge list of stars from the 1980s, despite it being a 1990s movie. Has Christy Swanson in the title role, who was later in the show replaced by Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's got Luke Perry playing a teenager, as Luke Perry does, and constantly looking 40. I don't think he ever looked under 40 in his entire life. Uh,
No,
it's it's got Donald Sutherland in it. You
that's
know,
Johnny Cakes.
yeah, exactly, Johnny Cakes. He is the trainer of Buffy. It's got Rutger Hauer as the main bad guy. It has Hilary Swank for some reason, who's terrible in it because it's Hilary Swank. And it has, of course, Paul Reubens, who frankly did not get the memo that this was supposed to be, not a great movie and put on a masterful performance.
Yeah, God
So
rest his soul.
yes. So looking up on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score was 36%, and they can go to hell, and the audience score was 43%, and they can also go to hell. Giving it first kind of my retro review of what do I remember, what's my nostalgia review, as I've seen this movie more times than I can count and saw it when it, came out when I was a kid. I would say I'm gonna give it six Pee Wee Hermans out of three. That is my nostalgia review. What would you give it, like looking back? Because you saw it as a child, also, right, Felicia?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting review system. 6 out of 3, and it's
Yes.
6 out of 3 Pee Wee Hermans. I think something tells me you kind of pulled that out of your ass.
Never.
Well, as a kid, truthfully, I didn't really remember much of the movie as a kid. Remember seeing it. I think, well, how old was I when it was 1992? I think it was like 6 or 7.
Mhm.
I saw it. Didn't really think much of it. I was just like whatever. So I mean, I guess back in the day, it was just whatever out of whatever. Am I supposed to give my rating for how I
Just the
enjoyed it?
nostalgia. After we watch it, we'll give,
I think
or sorry,
just
we after we go through, we can say, what it was after we rewatched.
probably just nothing out of nothing because
Don't
I
remember it enough.
barely remembered it. What?
So you don't remember it enough to give it a rating initially,
Pretty
your
much.
initial.
Like
Okay.
I was just kind of indifferent to it.
So I'll do a quick breakdown of the plot and I'll have you kind of do the same thing. So, the plot really is, you've got a stereotypical teenage girl written by Josh Whedon who um,
He's a
definitely
sexist
writes.
motherfucker.
Oh yeah, yeah. He always has like strong female leads that are such stereotypes. So she's like a cheerleader, always has gum, has a Valley Girl accent, has, kind of, a little loose with her boyfriend, and all of a sudden, vampires start killing people, and Donald Sutherland comes and tells her she's the chosen one, and she's been having nightmares,
It's not
of like
Donald
past
Sutherland.
life.
It's
Well,
Johnny
Johnny
Cakes.
Cakes, yes. The museum curator in The Simpsons. Or if you guys remember him from Hunger Games, Kiefer Sutherland's far more talented dad, Donald Sutherland. He
Also Johnny
basically
Cakes. Old
also
Johnny Cakes
yes,
from Hunger Games. Hunger Games. Johnny Cakes.
Hunger Games Johnny Cake. So Donald Sutherland's telling her, "Hey, you're the chosen one." It goes through this whole thing. She finally believes him. They go out into a graveyard for her to kind of prove it. Because she also remembers these past lives where she was killed, and for some reason she feels vampires' presence through menstrual cramps. Because again, Josh Whedon.
Hey,
Um,
he's a feminist. That's at least
yes,
that's what he said. So it
Josh
must be
Whedon
true.
that you've heard it here from my wife. Josh Whedon is a feminist.
Because
So,
he said so. Yeah,
because he said so, yes.
Oh, fuck.
So she can feel vampires through her period cramps and just has this innate ability to know how to kill them. So, then there's Luke Perry and his friend David Arquette who wants to become a vampire to win Courtney Cox back. I don't think that's the plot, but Um, so David Arquette becomes a vampire. Luke Perry almost does, but Johnny Cake saves him. There's a lot of training montage. Again, this was 92, so we're almost getting into that weird part where they can't figure out if it wants to be an 80s or a 90s movie. So there's a training montage where she's in classic martial arts movie fashion, doing a lot of flips and stuff. She's,
I
throwing
don't
a
know
lot of
what's up with
stuff.
the backflips. Even
Backflips,
the
front flips.
Jesus, the Power Rangers movie, this movie, like, what the fuck was everybody's obsession with the backflips? I mean, yeah, they look cool, but they're not practical, like, at all.
It's because they look cool as shit, Felicia. So she's learning how to, drive wooden stakes through people's hearts, only like cooler. It turns out like all of the past versions of the Slayer, which is her past lives, has been basically wrecked by this lead vampire, just absolutely wrecked. And when it's gonna happen this time, Donald Sutherland steps in. It's like, not this one. He gets killed. She decides, she wants to go to prom. So she goes to prom but her boyfriend doesn't want her anymore. But Luke Perry's there, in his 40s, looking
I
all
mean, everybody wants Luke
yeah.
Perry.
In the meantime, Pee Wee Herman's character somehow got his arm ripped off by Luke Perry, even though he's like a 1,000-year-old vampire, because he's Luke Perry. Battle ensues at the prom because Hilary Swank was dumb enough to invite them into the prom because the vampires. She's like, well, they're seniors. It's not the prom though. I just realized it's like another dance, so it's not even like that big of a prom. They even make a joke, or that big of a dance. They even make a joke about it.
Who the fuck cares? It's some sort of prom. In high school, whatever dance it is, it's prom.
So we get to the greatest scene of the entire movie, which is when she kills Pee Wee Herman's character, and he takes like 5 minutes to die, and he's like, ooh, it's not that long, but it is. And that's just the entire reason to watch the movie. She stakes him in the heart, and he just puts on a masterful performance. You can see through the rotating backgrounds. I focused a lot on this. He
He's
looks
a goddamn
super
genius.
badass. Look at him, yeah. And then she gets into a fight with Rutger Hauer, who has a katana now, and she kills him. So
why the fuck not?
That's really the plot. Then they ride off into the sunset on a motorcycle, her and Luke Perry, while Bill Dotrey passes out detentions to the dead vampires. Because we forgot to mention that the principal is played by Bill Dotrey from King of the Hill. And he's just giving the vampires detention because, it's fucking hilarious. So that's my breakdown. I want to hear your breakdown of it.
Truthfully, I don't think I really have much of a breakdown of it. Unlike the Power Rangers movie, at least I could appreciate this one because effort was actually put into it. It was a dumb as fuck movie, but it's your typical campy. I mean, I know it was made in the 90s, but it's your
There's a
typical
weird time
80s.
during the early 90s, yeah, that there's still.
It's your typical 80s horror film. It's super campy. It's fun. That's all I could say about it is that it's just fucking fun. It's not good. It's not what I would classify as good. I don't know why anybody. Donald Sutherland, he kind of wasted his time acting his ass off in that movie.
Oh yeah, he did not get the memo at all that he wasn't supposed to be trying.
But you know what? It was a fun movie. I can't get over how remarkably sexist the movie was. Not that, truthfully, I don't consider myself a feminist. I consider myself an egalitarian. But it's just, in general, it's just for the fact that Joss Whedon, whatever the hell his name is, I guess he touts himself as this guy who's like, yeah, equality, blah blah blah, and then he like has a fucking character. It's like, oh, I get period cramps, boo. I got period cramps, and I get a vampire.
And you can't forget all of the sexist lines, like when she steals a motorcycle and this guy's like, you want some power between your legs? She's like, yeah, I do, and it's like, God damn it, 1992.
I mean, to be fair, it was. I mean, when I say that it's sexist, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
I
It's so bad, but I fucking love it.
I would think the true crime of this movie is that when it was made 5 years later, it didn't into a TV show. It didn't have nearly the same cast, and it took itself too seriously. And I know this will make a lot of people mad who loved the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. And don't get me wrong, Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's a good actress. She's probably a better actress than Christy Swanson, frankly. But then you're replacing Donald Sutherland with just some random British dude who can't act himself out of a paper bag, and you're giving David Boreanaz the vampire role in place of like Paul Reubens or Rucker Howard. You've got like literally one of the best horror movie actors of all time, Rucker Howard, and then you've got Paul Reubens, and you're replacing him with a guy whose name sounds like the Northern Lights. And
Aurora
la- and
Borealis.
later went on to do Bones with, like nothing, no offense to David Boreanaz, but Jesus Christ, man.
No, fuck that guy. I don't know. I
Yeah,
barely know anything about him, but fuck him.
yeah. Fuck David Boreanaz. You heard it right here. My wife hates him. And then like
I
whoever
don't know
played,
shit about him, but fuck him. He's a piece
and I
of shit.
remember in the show there was also like some other vampire that almost should have been in Twilight. I know it was before, but this movie was just so much better than the show. And you know that it was one of those things where Josh Whedon got this one greenlit, then went to try to make it a show, and like back in like '97, teeny bopper shows were like all the rage, and you could tell it was one of those like almost in Family Guy when like Brian makes his own show and it's supposed to be like this serious college show and it ends up being like Class Holes. It's kind of the
What
same
a
thing.
pain! What a pain in my class.
Where like they just changed it from being a campy vampire comedy into just a teeny bopper drama, and again like Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's hilarious. She's a good actress. She could have been a lot better in the series. You've got Luke Perry in this, Krusty the Clown's brother, somehow playing a teenager at 40, and that's all you really needed to get the audience in. But like kind of going back with it, like watching it again, as weird as it sounds, I liked it just as much as I liked it the first time. And the reasoning behind it is because, one, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a cheesy horror movie that knows it's a cheesy horror movie. You've got Hilary Swank, crossing her eyes and passing out when a vampire tries to bite her. You've got, random lines like, as if and done stuff just thrown in there as much as possible. You've got, Donald Sutherland taking himself way too seriously, but for some reason he's got like this weird like mannerism where he's like playing with his mustache and stuff a lot that like he just probably picked that up because he's like, I'm an actor, I'm gonna do this. And then and of course Paul Reubens, who somehow like completely upstaged to a point where you even forget that David Arquette's in it. Because David Arquette's funny, but you forget that he's in it because it's like, you got silly vampire David Arquette, but then you got Paul Reubens being the silliest vampire in the world. There's even a line in it, one of my favorite. It's like, I can do anything, you can do better because I'm a vampire. But he's missing a hand and she tells him to clap. And it's just the delivery of it and Paul Reubens, the look on his face. And I would say, like, if you're saying this movie at like 100% strength, it's the entire cast, and then 90% of the strength, it's Paul Reubens. Like you've got Rutger Hauer and Donald Sutherland, and they're being completely acted by Pee Wee Herman. And I would say this even if he hadn't died. So going back on that,
I know you've been just to be clear, he has been saying this for years that his death scene is like the most iconic ever.
It's the best death scene in the history of cinema. If you haven't seen this movie, go out and watch it. Then burn all of your copies of the TV show and hate. Don't actually do that. I don't condone burning copies of a TV show. But, this is 1,000 times better. So, like, looking back now, my rating and my opinion after rewatching it would be the same rating of 6 out of 3 Paul Reubens. What
you said
would
it was Pee Wee Herman's.
Pee Wee Herman's, yes, whichever. What would you rate it, kind of looking back?
Honestly, just from a rewatching or just from a purely nostalgic perspective, I'd really just like, I guess if it was out of 5, maybe about 3 out of 5. I mean, it was a pretty fun movie. I mean, would I call it a good movie? Or I think I'm being a little generous with like 3 out of 5, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. I was like thinking like 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5, 3 out of 5.
You're
I think
you're
three out of
you're
five.
wrong in this case, but I respect your opinion.
Well, go fuck yourself.
All right. Well, again, like and subscribe if you like this, and leave a comment with any suggestions of any movies you'd like us to review. Bye.